Hi everyone, this is Angelica. Thank you so much for joining me for video 2 of activating your miracle consciousness. So before I get started on today's video, I really want to thank everyone so much for watching the last video, for commenting. I really appreciate you, and I'm glad that you're excited to activate your own miracle consciousness and open up and expand so that you can allow miracles into your life. This may be something that's baffled you for most of your life, and for most people it does. And it's because it's multifaceted. You have to work through things on a physical level, a spiritual level, an emotional level, and an intellectual level. Those are the 4 things: spiritual, intellectual, physical, and emotional. And once you get all those bodies balanced, things just start to work. Things start to click into place. Miracles start coming in. Your life just starts working out in alignment with your new dreams and visions. So when you start out on a spiritual journey, what happens is that your consciousness expands and you have a new idea of what will work for you and what your greatest potential is. In that new knowing, what happens is things come up to be released: old patterns, old beliefs, ego. And these things are moving out of the way so that your miracles can come into you. So this is what I'm talking about. Miracle consciousness is just about allowing those things, those dreams of your heart and your visions to just easily come into your field. And they easily come into your field when these things that we're going to talk about are balanced. So I myself have come from a very, very, very difficult past that I don't like to attach a story to and talk about anymore, because actually there was a lot of positives to it. However, I just want you to understand that I had a very, very challenging life, to the point where I could have definitely turned my back on my own spiritual path. And many times I tried. However, something in me kept wanting to move forward and go help teach you how you can be the best that you can be and how to live a happy life. And first, I had to learn how to do that for myself so that I had the actual experience. Because if somebody's teaching something and they don't have experience with it, they can't really teach it, in my view. I think you need to really understand on a personal level what you are teaching. And so the universe has really put me through it so that I could really learn these things and integrate them and teach them to you. Okay, so I just want to talk about releasing emotions, bringing yourself from a place where you don't feel so great and moving yourself into a state of balance. Because it's not from a state of exhilaration and excitement like we all think. Like when we get those kundalini rushes or whatever, we think that that energy is what actually magnetizes things to us, and it's not true. Everything, your miracle consciousness, begins to be activated when you're in a calm state of balance and peace. It's not in the hyped up state of exhilaration. It's in a place of actual balance. So right now, all of humanity is really clearing and cleansing. All together as a collective, we're clearing out the old ways of being because we're coming into a new way of life. And this is what I teach you through my videos, because I've seen the vision of what is going to be created. And it is being created at this very moment. But how do we get through the troubling times as we let go of the family patterning? The family patterning is what you were born into. So when you decided to come to this planet and volunteer and do what you came here to do, or just shine your light and whatever you wanted, whatever your purpose was for this, you came into this physical body and took on the patterning of your family lineage. So your mom, your dad, their parents, and so on. These patterns have continued to be played out through the generations. And here you come into this physical body, and now you're here to not only clear and transmute these patterns, but to use them as stepping stones to your own empowerment as well. So those patterns that have been troublesome for you and that have been really difficult for you to deal with and release, actually with time turn into your greatest gifts, because then you do have empathy, you have compassion, you know how to help someone in that same situation that may be struggling with that particular thing. Now, with family patterning, it's really interesting. What happens is these things come up to be cleared. And I want you to really realize something, that what happens when things are coming up to be cleared, and in relation, I think, to our family, is a whole host of bad feelings come up in regards to it, because it really triggers us, because the people in our family and all the situations that occur are very, very they sting us on a deep level because we're very connected to them. So what we tend to do is we tend to feel, because most of us haven't had like the ideal childhood, you know, we've all had really things that have really hurt us and things that have not been okay in our new expanded vision of what could be. And in that, a lot of guilt and shame are attached to these things. And what we tend to do when we're releasing patterning is we attach a story to it. So for instance, when I'm clearing something, I've noticed, because I've become really aware of this process, it'll first be a physical sensation in my body. So I'll feel it, and it'll just send adrenaline and anxiety, and I'll get panicked. Immediately when I feel that sensation of like fear or anxiety or whatever that is, it goes straight up to my mind, and I start looking for a reason why this is happening. And then when I do find the reason that I assume that it's happening, I start attaching little pieces to this story until it becomes an overwhelming mess of bad feelings and a story that I've just created in my mind that may or may not even be true. So what I want to do is, along with the guilt and shame that people feel from their childhood and their past, what they do is they shut it down. They don't ever want to go in and express this family patterning so it can be released, because it's painful and people don't have a good process for releasing these emotions. So what tends to happen is people go into denial. It's better to pretend like nothing happened at all than to feel the pain of going in and facing it and taking responsibility for your life again. And saying, you know, going back and saying, yes, this did happen. Or, yes, this was the situation. Can we somehow clear this? Or can we somehow work this out now to where we can harmonize this energy? And I'm talking about if you were clearing patterning with your parents or with other family members in that regard. Another thing about clearing, and what I wanted to say about that, is when you are feeling a sensation in the body, that's the minute to go within yourself, to really feel into that feeling, and do not leave yourself for a second. Be very present with yourself, because on an inner level, what's happening is you're coming up against a core wound that was created when you were a very small child, most likely. So that very small child is acting up because it wants to express and was shut down then in whatever way that was. And so that expression that little girl felt when she couldn't speak up or be heard at that time and was shut down becomes now a pattern that is an actual physical thing in the body. And so now as this comes up, you do not leave that little girl. You stay with her, you stay in your body fully and feel into it. And then what happens when you do that and you feel the pain that she felt, what happens is your consciousness expands, the feeling releases almost immediately, and you come into a deeper understanding of this process and become more embodied and empowered as each layer of these things begin to unravel, begin to come out. This is the process. Where people get tripped up is they feel the physical sensation. They start creating stories in their mind. It can go on for days, weeks, months, years. Stop the story, come into the body, feel what that little girl felt like. Give her what she needs. Is that love, understanding, maybe time to be heard, whatever it is. What you don't do is, one, create the story, and two, distract yourself from what you're feeling because it's uncomfortable in whatever way you may do that. And we all have strategies, and they're all habits, and we've been doing these for years to keep ourselves safe from our emotions. So when you go into the grocery store and you see everybody, you can see all the people, and they all have all these things going on, but they're only operating from a very surface level. I'm not saying all grocery stores, but just your regular local grocery store. And so you see them, but their consciousness is not expanded. They're meeting you only from a surface level, if I can explain it like that. So they don't have a depth to them. You can't really reach them. And the reason you can't reach them is because they haven't felt into their own energy body, their own light body. Their own essence has not been embodied in their physical body, so you can't really reach them. And if you're a highly conscious person, you want to be able to reach people. It's very hard to be a sensitive person like you are and not be able to reach people on your expanded consciousness, rather than having to lower your light so that you can relate to them in whatever way. And no, I don't condone that at all. I would keep yourself in a state of balance, calm, and harmony as much as you can. If there's negative people around you, clear them. If there's situations that don't make you feel good, clear them. Start putting your energy into making sure that you always feel good. This video is getting a little bit long, but there's a couple other things I want to mention here. Ego death. The dark night of the soul, I had a couple of questions on that. Now, the dark night of the soul is similar to what you would call an ego death. So your ego starts fighting your new spiritual awareness. So you understand on a spiritual level that things are very beautiful and miraculous. However, your ego that's trying to fight to stay in control and tell you all these stories and tell you you're not good enough and tell you, oh, that will never work, or whatever it is, this is the ego fighting to stay alive. Or the ego will say things about other people, or the ego just wants to stay in control. And the ego is like your personality. And through the dark night of the soul, through awakening to your own spiritual consciousness, the ego slowly, slowly, slowly dies. Not all of it completely, but the big part of your personality that was up until this point is dying off. And so that's why some days it feels like death. Now, I just want to let you know, you get to a place where you can activate your miracle consciousness. And if this does occur, it only happens in a very balanced way. So instead of going up and down all the time on a roller coaster, maybe you'll have a little good day, maybe it'll be a little bad, maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad. You're not going like this, because you can bet when you go up like that, you're coming and you're crashing down even lower. So you can bet that the universe balances things eventually. And if you are having a really, really high experience, you need to balance yourself and bring yourself down. Don't allow yourself to tell a story. Do something that makes you happy instead. So if you're experiencing really uncomfortable emotions, be with yourself. But if you're feeling that's not working, do something. Write down 3 or 4 things that you can do that you really enjoy that will take your mind off the perceived problem. Because really there is no problem. We are perceiving a problem because the ego is telling us stuff, because we're purging family patterning, and it just feels like a big mess. But it's really not. It's just a process. And once you have an understanding of the process, things are easier for you. And eventually you start to release and release and release and release until you can access your miracle consciousness at will. And that is why I'm making these videos and what I want to teach you. And I'm so extremely happy that you decided to join me on this journey, because I really do know that you have the ability to go through this. Not only that, you're already going through it. You wouldn't be watching this video if you weren't. So you can rest in the fact that you are already in a process that is going to complete itself, and you're going to get to a state of balance with it. If you keep telling yourself that, it will help you. Now, there may be some objections like, oh, I'll never get to that state, or it may seem kind of impossible. And I used to think that too. When I used to read books all the time and people would say, you can have whatever you want, or you can be happy, I was like, really? Like, I was hopeful. I was very, very hopeful and hoping. But you know what? The family patterning in me was so deep. And I still clear stuff from my family patterning, and I'm doing that consistently with Amine. But I just keep growing and expanding and expanding and expanding each other layer that comes off, and I keep coming into my divine essence. Who am I apart from my family? Who am I apart from the structures of society? Who am I, this beautiful being in this physical body? And what did I come here to share? And what is my purpose? This is what's important for you. So, like I said, you may think it's impossible, but if you knew where I came from and what I've done to get here, you may or may not have it a little bit easier than I did. And that probably would be true, because like I told you in the beginning of this video, I've had to learn a lot of things myself, things that I've had to teach. The universe just puts me in them. I'm so lucky. Okay, so next video is going to be about how to use your heart to magnetize. Love is the most powerful energy in the entire world, in the universe, actually. It's a universal love. And heart energy actually magnetizes and draws to you those things that you love, and your dreams and your hopes and your wishes, all those things. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that I've answered most of your questions, but if not, leave a comment or a question below this video and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And expect video 3 in a couple of days. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.